Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of the series Solving League, and today we'll be talking about lost chapter items. And before we dive into lost chapter items, I just wanted to mention that if you have an interesting topic that you would want me to cover, comment it down below. I'll consider all of them. And for now, just enjoy the video. So quickly about the content of the video. We quickly go through the changes of the items, and then we'll try to evaluate them by comparing the items with each other, also to their previous iterations. I'll also give examples of questions that you could be asking before buying these items. Based on the data we see in comparison section. And I'll briefly talk about the Excel file, and I'll end the video about talking about my plans, what I'm going to do with this channel, and so on. So moving to the items and changes. First of all, let's look at the stats. So basically, all items kind of got changed. Seraph Embrace lost 10 ability power. Malignance gained 5 ability power and lost 10 ability haste. Luden's lost 10 ability haste. Blackfire Torch lost 5 ability haste and 10 ability power. Here you can see the passive. So Seraph Embrace lost 50 shield on its passive. And Blackfire Torch got its passive changed, its passive formula changed. So right now it has a higher flat value and the lower scaling. Here you can see that at 500 AP the passive becomes the same, the passive damage becomes the same. Here it is for the full 3 seconds burn. The red one is the new one and the blue one is the older one. And as you can see, at 100 ability power, you are gaining like 12 damage per 3 seconds, so for damage every second. Then it starts decreasing, and at 500 it becomes equal. And that's basically all the changes. And now let's move to comparison, and let's start with ability haste. And so what ability haste changes mean? So before 2 patches ago, all the items had the same ability haste. And it's kind of a big change in the sense that right now when you choose the items, you no longer can only look at the damage, right? Which was the case before. What does those ability haste nerf mean? So for example, here I show you 4 different cooldowns. So it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 and 20. So for 5 seconds, here are the numbers. So how to read it? So bonus ability haste is additional ability haste you have on top of your item. So for example, just after you buy the items and you have no additional ability haste, you can see that Embrace has 0.5 seconds lower cooldown than Luden's. And as you can see, once you get more ability haste, this difference becomes lower. At 30 bonus ability haste, it's 3.5, something like that, 0.35 seconds. For 10 seconds, it's already a second difference at just completing the item, and later on the differences increase. So basically, the main thing you can take out of it is, for example, okay, so let's consider like Xerath, Syndra, Oriana. Main damage abilities, for example, 6Q is 4 seconds, Syndra Q 7 seconds, Oriana Q 6 to 3 seconds, depending if you max it first or second. So you would probably look at numbers around the 5 seconds cooldown, right, for your main damage ability. And if you consider, okay, well, I'm not losing that much time, if I need damage, I can do damage. Like if I need Luden's, like it's not a big deal, right? However, in some cases, for example, let's say we look at Syndra E, right? It's 17 seconds, right? And it becomes, okay, this is like something in between the 15 and 20. So the difference is 1.5 to 2.2 seconds. So let's say it's 1.75 for 17 seconds, okay? It would be something similar to that. And basically, in some cases, maybe you getting your stun every 2 or 1.5 seconds earlier is more impactful than you dealing extra 250 or 300 damage. And maybe not, and maybe getting your ultimate additionally ultimate cooldown reduction is more important than getting that 1.5 seconds and so on. So this is additional thing you kind of want to look at the items right now. This is a different way to visualize it, and also more values. If you look at ultimate ability haste, well, Malignance now is like the lowest one. And here you can basically compare, how much time are you getting from the Malignance passive when you buy it. So these numbers are not really the best in a way that, some ultimates will be 120, some ultimates will be 140, and when you level up, they decrease, so there will be other values. But it's also like quite interesting to look, for example, at 110, basically getting like almost 20 seconds. Compared to Luden's, for example, Embrace is only 7 seconds. So basically, if you are, for example, thinking about going Malignance or Embrace, and you can't, justify those 6, 12 seconds that you're getting shipped off, in the sense that can I play around those 6 seconds, those 20 seconds, so I can wait out the ultimate. Maybe then buying extra damage is more important for me than getting my ultimate off. But there are more to, of course, there are more to Malignance, and it's more to passive, and we'll talk about it later. But here again, the graphs for the same thing. And once again, like, these are the more, this is comparison between the previous patch Malignance and current patch Malignance. So basically, how to look at it, we can see how the passive changed. So for example, for 60 seconds, you are not losing that much, 3 seconds after 3 seconds. For example, to 200 seconds, you are losing already over 11 seconds. So it just shows that then ability haste nerf on the Malignance is kind of significance once you go to higher ultimate values, because your passive, the item doesn't give that much of a reduction to the ultimate. However, if we look at the passive itself, it became stronger. And it's like quite interesting. The item itself became weaker, but the passive became stronger. So the difference between what the passive ships off is bigger, because it starts at the 15 ability haste before you would start at 25. Here is the comparison between, okay, I have 15 ability haste with and without Malignance. What does my 20 ability ultimate ability haste gives me? And the other part, bonus percentage damage in the zone of the Malignance. So once you damage there's a zone, and you reduce the magic resist, and how the follow-up damage is amplified based on that. So as you can see, the original magic resist, if we are talking about lower values, we get quite a significant, for example, 40 magic resist, which is around, mages level 10. I think you get like around 5.5% increasing magic damage when they stand in the field. So especially if you can manage to stun or whatever after you hit the ultimate, this amplification could be significant. And also stacking more on a flat magic pen, for the original magic resist amplifies it even more. So and now let's look how Malignance compared to the other items. So let's start with the Ludens. And so this is basically just comparing the passives, Luden's proc and Malignance were. This is for 1 second. So basically it shows how many seconds of the Malignance burn you have to apply to compensate the Luden's proc. If we look, there are 3 different Luden's proc values, and there are more in between these and even lower, So how you probably look, like 5 champions, Luden's proc is rare, and not like you are not concerned about that in laning phase and stuff like that. You're probably looking around, single target and below, maybe a little bit ahead in team fights, but like probably 3.5 and below is something where you would look. And if we however, it's like not complete in the sense that you have Ludens have 15 more ability power right? So every ability you land with Ludens will deal more damage. Then, of course, Malignance reduces the magic resist. So if you manage to follow up, you amplify the damage. Malignance provides ultimate haste, so your ultimate comes back sooner, so you have potential to deal more damage sooner. So, for example, let's say Ezreal ult, if you land it on cooldown, for example, with Malignance, right, you will deal more damage than just, waiting it with Fluence. It's a bad example, but that's what I mean. Or spamming ultimate on cooldown with any. You'll probably not do that that often, but it's there and it could be considered in some models. Okay, so Malignance versus Luden's case study. This is an example of Xerath, and this analysis is basically of the Xerath hitting one ultimate, then proccing Ludens or applying Malignance Burn, and hitting the next shot on top of it. What we have here, we have changing ability power from 0 to 800. So probably in this patch, you would look up to 600. Ludens hit, so this is basically one champion is getting hit. In one case scenario, no shots are wasted. In the other case scenario, 3 shots are wasted. So it goes to the minions or jungle monsters. Then we have Malignance burns for 2 seconds. You could debate that it's a bit too generous, but let's assume it burns for 2 seconds. And then pre-mitigation damage, magic damage, it's the second shot. So I am not including the burn itself, which would last for 1.75 seconds, because the first is not amplified. I'm also not including the runes. So it's only the second shot. It's a little bit disadvantageous for the Malignance. Then the ability power ratios of both shots, and then original magic resist. So this is the target's magic resist, and as you can see, it's increasing with the increasing ability. It's nothing special about the original magic resist in this example. It's just like increasing, so the amplification reduces. And what we can see is that while Luden's does more damage, the ratio decreases with increasing ability power. And also for the second case, the Malignance does more. So basically, what does it show? It shows that, okay, if you manage to get a good Luden's hit, maybe the Malignance in the short burst will not have damaged it. But if you can't, then Malignance will have damaged it. And if we look at required time for Malignance to do more damage, it's 3.5 seconds to 3.25 seconds, and Malignance starts damage. So it does not include the, for example, additional pre-mitigation damage. Then it could also reduce the burn. It's solely the burn, and regardless of everything else. So for example, if you have more magic damage on your team, and they hit while the target is burning, then this time would decrease. So even in this example, it shows that Ludens can be easily overcome by Malignance when you play around your ultimate. We can also compare it to the patch before. We can see that the values are a little bit lower in the current patch, meaning that Malignance has more value. That's true because it got ability power increased by 5 and its passive damage didn't change. And also, if we look, at these, mostly at these values, we can see that compared to the ratios, where we solely compared the magic damage ratio from the Luden's proc and Malignance burn, we can see that these in reality, this very similar or lower. And if we increase the pre-mitigation damage, it becomes even lower. So for example, if you are looking at the longer fight, you should be going down on the ratio, right? So that's basically it from this case study. Right, moving to the Luden's against Blackfire Torch, and after this we'll talk about the Malignance Blackfire Torch. I could have done it differently, but it's okay. So here we can see the 14.18 and 14.19 data. It's basically different because the passive got changed. So as you can see early on, here is almost 13 seconds. This is 10.5. This is the starting line is at 100, I believe. So yeah, early on the 1419 is better, but and 500 is basically where it becomes even or very close. It's all and here I think I did a correction where I pushed the Malignance 10 ability power back, so this is a little bit shifted. Both of them I think are a little bit shifted. So in theory, if you just compare the passives, it would be slightly different, but it's very close to that. So as you can see, like single target most damage, you have to burn like 10 to 10 to 9 seconds, kind of, in the sense that you'll probably not right now you will not go to 1000, so it's 9.5 9 seconds where you are kind of want to look at it. So what does it mean? It's basically, okay, I hit one Luden's proc, and for that I need to land like 3 abilities every 3 seconds to compensate it, kind of. Well, it's probably more, but like because you will probably not land every Luden, so you could average out, less or more depending on how often you proc the Ludens and how often you or your opponent plays around its cooldown. So this could be this should be customized based on your experience and your scenario. But also we have to understand that passive got changed, but also the ability power got changed. So if you look, for example, 100 AP, we get 12 extra damage for the passive 3 seconds burn, which is 1 proc. So what does it mean? It means like if you do this with 120 ability power combo, well, it does compensate because like you lost an ability power, and later on it will decrease. At some point, like with around 400 is very low. You for example throw a 6Q, does not compensate the fact that you have bonus damage from the passive because you lost an ability power. Even this, for example, Oriana QW right combo, if you do it like insta, you are losing value from this. So it's also like you should, like when you analyze these, you should customize the settings, the numbers based on the champion or scenarios you're interested in. So, but the fact that 10 AP was lost is basically kind of, I would say, more important than you getting extra damage on burn. In most cases scenarios, especially after 200 ability power, that's true. I think I've tried to put a 6Q where you hit 3 champions, and it was 250 ability power, where, okay, well, Luden's just does more damage. Here are the other numbers for those. So, for example, here's the single target 5 and 4 shots. So one shot is wasted, 2 shots are wasted. This is 3 shots are wasted, and 3 shots goes to the target. This is like another, I would say, kind of interesting place, because in the laning phase you probably are not always getting single target, and the target might be near the minions. So you can see that it significantly drops to below 6 seconds, 6 to 5 seconds. Like if you average out, it's it becomes like more like 7. You need 7 seconds within 12 seconds, or 8 seconds within 12 seconds to burn, to compensate the Luden's procs your opponent is getting. And here again, you can see that early on it's buffed, and later on it's nerfed. Again, 2 and 1 shot. 1 shot is also kind of important, especially if you have to clear waves with your abilities. So you are proccing your Ludens on waves, and maybe it jumps on the 1 shot jumps to the opponent. That's basically if you hit an ability that would compensate that proc. If you think about Blackfire Torch, right, you would argue that okay, with this item you want to be in the zone where you can consistently apply damage, and you want to stack a lot of AP. But what they did, moved the power to the kind of passive early on. So like you are not getting, you lost AP, you got gain a little bit damage early, but like it's not why you buy that item, why you bought that item. No, you bought it for late game skirmishes where you can consistently apply damage and get a lot of burn time, which is basically the part we nerfed by reducing the ability power and reducing the high AP scaling on the passive. And here are the examples of the big Luden hits in teamfights. For example, you hit the Luden, for example, a blank Q on the champion that has 5 champions around, so that would be hit this example, and this would be with 3 champions around. A Blackfire Torch burn becomes even larger. But yeah, that's basically what you can take away from the Ludens and Blackfire Torch, you really need to be consistently applying, burn to compensate the damage from Ludens, which is possible in some cases, but like it was a niche item before, and now it's even less possible to build. Even not only inside this item's ability power got dropped, but also the other items lost ability power. Right, now let's look at the Malignance burn versus Blackfire Torch burn, and if we look at straight second to 1 second burn, it was 3.6 to 2.4 seconds. Right now it's around just below 3, so they only got again buffed the late nerf. Once again, Malignance has 5 ability power more. Blackfire Torch will almost always burn longer. Malignance will, unless it's like something like Swain Ultimate, but even then it's something like Swain Ultimate, right? So you ablaze the ground and they can move within those 3 seconds, and not all the time they spend on while the zone will stand there for 3 seconds, they don't necessarily need to be on the zone for 3 seconds, and after 3 seconds the zone will reappear on top. You might escape it, and usually that will mean that it will not exactly burn as much as Blackfire Torch in those cases scenarios would have. And also, again, Malignance amplify the damage and ability haste as well. Okay, our last case studies as for Malignance versus Blackfire Torch overall. We have 2 patterns. We have a longer one for Swain and a short one for Ahri. Okay, so let's start with the Swain. Bonus CP goes from 25 to 400 in both cases. The enemies hit again 2 in both cases. So the first time we kill people at the end of the combat, so Blackfire Torch burns for 12 seconds, and in the second case scenario we do not kill them, they escape. So both adds 3 seconds each. So our all combat is 6 seconds cooldown, right? Malignance burn for both cases 10. Pre-mitigation magic damage. This is the damage the targets take while standing on the burning ground. So this damage is amplified. Proc, we don't really care. Follow-up ability power ratios increases. Original magic resist also increases. Pre-mitigation damage is, I think, only Q and ultimate. I was calculating something in the sense of the follow-up ability ratio, and this could be increasing if you land your more abilities like W and E, as well as if your teammates apply magic damage when enemies stand in the zone. So this could be like a little bit disadvantageous to the Malignance, but we also consider that this is a very long time for Malignance to burn. This is like 10 out of 12 seconds is quite a long time because you can walk away from the zone. A little bit, in some cases, a little bit advantageous, in some cases, a little disadvantageous. But even with being a little bit disadvantageous to the Malignance, you can see that the Malignance is dealing a lot more damage than Blackfire Torch, 2.5 times more. On the low APs, and it decreases the ratio, decreases with the increasing ability power. In case where we kill them, so the Malignance burn is close to the Blackfire Torch burn, the ratio between them is from 2.5 to 1.8. So if we compare it to the previous section, we can see that it is lower. And that makes sense because the Blackfire Torch is still burning more. The second case, the ratio decreases a little bit more, but it's still, reasonably high to consider building a Malignance. But because, the Blackfire Torch is burning for much longer, the ratio is more beneficial to Blackfire. However, if we consider okay, let's say we increase the combat for twice as long, right? So because 6 seconds is not that long in this sense. It is okay, but it's not as long as you may fight. So in this case, the ratios would still be similar, right? Depending on how pre-mitigation damage would change. But if we say, okay, well, let's double all the numbers, then it would be the same. In this case, the ratio would increase because the 6 seconds compared to the, double the, this would be 12 times 2 plus 6, and this would be 20. So the difference would, in a sense, would reduce. And it would still be 6, but the ratio between the burns would reduce. But the ratio would be approaching 1 if we go to infinity, right? So this would approach, these values if we go to infinity. And now if we look at Ahri, this is a short burst. So 1 target. For the Blackfire Torch, I chose 5 seconds. So we assume that we land, E, Q, W with the ultimate open up. And the E, Q, W is 2 seconds. It could be lower. It could be 1.5. So this could be debatable. Then you could also, this is something like how long the charm would, keep them in the position of the burning ground. And this is basically the Ahri combo base abilities damage. Again, does not include items, does not include other additional damage from the runes or whatever. So again, might be a little bit disadvantageous. And we don't really care about this. Don't a little bit care about this, but not really. Original magic resist, okay. And we can see that the ratios right now, is close to what we have on a second Swain burn. So where Malignance is significantly longer, which is like kind of true because the burn is twice almost as much. So basically in a short duration, it's Malignance still does more damage. It's just the ratio goes down. We can now compare it to the patch 14.18. The ratio is higher at 14.18 at the 25 ability power. However, at 225 bonus ability power, the ratio of the 14.19 is already here. So that just shows that the buff for the Blackfire Torch passive is not that impactful even on lower APs. Like, okay, 25, sure, it's just noticeable a little bit, but even a little bit higher, and we lose that benefit just because of the lost AP. And that's similar to Ahri. For 14.19, you can see that Ahri is beneficial. So before it was very low because the additional ability power was significant compared to the burn because it's a lot of AP damage and not a lot of burn time. But right now the ability power damage is considered to be lower because of the AP changes to Blackfire Torch and Malignance. So the short, even in the short distances, the Blackfire Torch is compared to the Malignance is nerfed. And now let's talk about Seraph's Embrace. Okay, so there are some values that could be interesting for Seraph's Embrace users. So this is the bonus mana with mana flow and 2 mana items, and we can say that we can get up to 17 ability power. And the nerf to Seraph's Embrace shield doesn't, impact it as much. The minimum shield going down by 50 is okay, significant, but how often will you get the shield when you're at 0 mana? So we're talking more about closer to in the middle or to the maximum value. So at the end of the day, it's a bit rough. This item does what it used to do, and the nerfs doesn't change why you build this item. Here are some values for the comparison, and what does this mean? Okay, so let's say I apply a burn on Blackfire Torch with 80% ability power ratio ability, and I hit it with the Seraph's Embrace. What's the ratio? This is 1 second. This is also 1 second. So 1 second of the Blackfire Torch, so the 3 seconds would be 3 times this number. You basically need additional 216 ability power ratio to compensate 1 second of the burn. Well, Luden's up to 1500 bonus mana, you are not outdamaging Luden's at any point of the game. And for Malignance, these numbers are higher because, well, Malignance has a lot bigger base values. Also, it has right now, because the ability power, like the Seraph's Embrace lost an ability power and Malignance got 5 ability power, the difference is only 5. So basically this damage, the Malignance burn damage is only compensated by 5 additional ability power. So of course, I mean, because the Malignance is 300 gold lower, 200 gold lower, you could argue that it's not really that, right? Because you could even get more ability power, but I chose not to investigate the gold value in this analysis. So it's not numbers, and as you can see, with the increasing ability power, mana, the ratios become lower and lower. Okay, and at two mana items and mana flow, you can see that. Okay, well, Luden's can be outdamaged. It's unlikely, but it can be. And if we this is 14.18, so, to compare, you can see that Blackfire Torch gained some value because it's 0 bonus AP, and the Malignance gained a lot of value because it kind of, the difference went from 20 to 5. Here is 200 values again compared to 18. I'll not talk much about it, but we can see that, for example, 600 right now, we can see that Blackfire Torch is worse than its previous counterpart. And that's basically it about the comparison. I hope these numbers, you can take something out of these numbers. And now let's talk about, how to choose. So these slides are all from my analysis to 14.18. So it doesn't include the ability haste, which is not ideal. However, we can still go through it. The questions still work. The flowchart doesn't. I would say that the flowchart now is different because Black Torch is kind of very situational right now. It's got nerfed so badly that you wouldn't consider it right now, in the sense that it would be close to the Malignance or Luden's damage. Right, so we can skip that. You can pause it if you want, but I'll skip it. Alright, so before that, I had like 3 stages, but basically the Seraph's Embrace still has similar question. Does the shield from Seraph's Embrace allow me to survive long enough to, or greatly reduce the possibility of enemies bursting me, so I can recycle or cast my abilities and deal more damage this way? Like, this is probably still the main point. However, when you compare, for example, with Malignance and Luden's, you're also looking at ability haste now, which is also very important in the sense that, for example, let's say I'm playing Syndra. Does my ability to stun people every 2 seconds, okay, maybe 1.7 or whatever, even low, maybe a little bit lower if you stack more ability power haste, is more important than me dealing, those that Luden's proc, extra 150 to 300 damage or 350 damage or whatever. And in some cases it might be better because, well, you have, long range champions, or you have, another burst champion, so or have a Blitzcrank or whatever. So your stunning results in kill regardless of how much damage you deal. And maybe that is the indication that, okay, well, Seraph's Embrace is maybe better because it does more ability haste, and also I get a shield, which maybe helps me. In some cases it will not be, and probably in most cases it will not be worth, but on Syndra, but this is here, and you should think about it as well. The other stage is the Malignance, and this is also, again, compared with the Seraph's Embrace, because Malignance and Seraph's Embrace are basically the closest. Okay, well, Malignance and Seraph's Embrace Ultimate are the closest values. So you don't really get that much by going Malignance. Okay, you're getting quite much, but I think in most cases you not necessarily can argument what you would do with those 8-12 seconds. So this is why also additional thing to take into consideration. And some of the questions, to choosing Malignance could be, is my ultimate significant or a biggest portion of my damage up? No, something like Swain. Maybe something like Swain is like, this is why Swain could build it. Then, can I reliably apply ultimate damage to consistently proc Malignance work? And maybe I have teammates who can follow up on that damage, because so my, magic resist reduction gives more value. So I think one of the examples is Masahar. So LS did run to Masters with like 90% or whatever in the read, and he did the Magic Pen build with the Malignance on Malzahar, and like that's basically why it works. You basically reduce 40 magic resist, which significantly amplifies your damage, and the full combo of the Malzahar basically almost results in you one-shotting, like you killing the person. The magic resist passive, especially if you can follow it up, is very important. Then, can I justify my Malignance ultimate cooldown reduction? That's what I was talking about a little bit before. Do I care about doing more damage during the time my ultimate is dealing damage, rather than dealing damage outside of my ultimate? This is very important. How prominent is your ultimate? Do you want to play around, like how your ultimate works as well? Is it like a burst? Maybe then if it's a burst, maybe you can play around with 8 seconds because you want to get to the HP value from which you can burst. So for example, Syndra is a very good example where you want to go Luden's almost always, just because you can consistently, first of all you want single target damage most of the time, and you want to have as big as possible damage from your QWE, so you can follow up with an ultimate burst and kill it. LeBlanc is also something similar. And then can my team, utilize 10 magic resist. And the last stage was between Blackfire Torch and Ludens, but like right now, I would favor, like in general, I would favor Ludens over Blackfire Torch almost always. But again, you can still ask those questions. Do I need to use my abilities to wave clear? And if you do, well, you probably will not be able to blur out your Luden's cooldown as well as champions that can wave clear with one ability and can utilize abilities to proc Ludens and then also wave clear after that within those 12 seconds. Then can I consistently hit my abilities on champions every 12 seconds? Again, how well can you play around your Luden's passive? How frequently can I land my abilities poke enemy champions? So before that, I was thinking for the Ludens, it's basically 3 to 5 abilities hit on a single champion and 2 to 3 multiple target abilities hit. So if you could theoretically do that in the 12 seconds duration, maybe 12 to 18 seconds, because like you are not working every time, then probably Blackfire Torch is still better. However, you have to understand that you will not be able to, most of the time, you will not be able to do that consistently, and that's why Ludens is like in a way safer damage item. And then is my job to burst, deal single target damage again. Ludens is my job or kit focused around dealing AOE or damage over time, or do I prefer front to back fights or looking for flanks? Damage over time and AOE theoretically benefits Blackfire Torch. So if you, for example, you could argue, okay, well, 6 has a lot of AoE. However, in a sense that it is hard to land abilities, so it's very hard to consistently apply damage with them. Ludens in most cases would deal more damage. However, if they have 3 frontliners and you can consistently hit 1 or 2 of them with your Q, E, or W, whatever, like Blackfire Torch would deal more damage. And also, like one more nuanced part is Blackfire Torch provides better wave clear, so it also can be a comfort item on some champions who, for example, wait to faster wave clear. So that's basically it about the items and their comparison. Now I'll quickly talk about the Excel. I don't want to talk too much about it, well, because you kind of want to, if you will use it, you kind of want to have a feeling of it. And if you have any questions related to the Excel, let me know in the comments, in the Discord, or wherever you want. On the Reddit, if you came from the Reddit post, I'll try to answer all of them as soon as I can. So this is a screenshot from the item and item comparison part. This is where most of the things, all the case studies have came from. The other part was comparison, which I was just comparing, with the same abilities. The ratios come from there and stuff like that. And you can also see the case studies here. There's one to the right. There's a calculator. This is for general purpose. If you just want to put numbers and look at the damage values, there are all the items here, so you can also kind of compare them in that window. It is kind of more inputs in a sense if you want to compare different items, because this is where you put like the same custom environment to find the ratios and stuff like that. So once again, this is in the Google Docs. Link is in the description. Take a look if you want, play with it, and if you have any questions, again, I'll answer them. And now let's talk about what's ahead. I have a couple interesting topics planned, which will hopefully take less effort, but regardless will be even probably more interesting and more applicable than just lost chapter items. I will not tell them right now. I might give heads up during my preparation of the material to those topics in my Discord. And however, I also wanted to talk on this. That was my main purpose of this channel. Okay, to create this mathematical approach to League and trying to get advantage over understanding the numbers on the items or abilities or whatever. So this is still what I want to do. And this is very interesting for me. However, I would also planning to do lower effort things because it takes a long time to prepare material prepare the slides and files for these type of videos. Maybe with other topics it will be lower. For example, the Huawei Q with like analysis was very long just because I had to think of custom graphs and how to create them. So and also understand that I'm not as interesting as some challenger players from my perspective on gameplay. I might still be interesting for some lower elo players, but there are better streamers, better content creators than me to focus on that side of the game. So I'll try. I'm thinking, since I'm planning to compete in the university league next year as well, I'll probably do competitive videos, competitive league videos with the basically gameplay from the university league. Also, will try to find the sphere where I could be interesting and I could give an approach that other people can't. And if you have any suggestions to that, I would be very pleased to hear them. And also, if you are interested in this type of stuff, consider liking, sharing with your friends, subscribing. Also, I haven't been streaming that much on like last month and a half, something like that. I had like some stuff to do, but upcoming months I'll try to stream frequently. And this is a new split, so this is exciting for me so I'll try to stream. So if you want to support me, you can show up on my stream as well. There's also a link to the Discord in the description. I'll try to also update it in my YouTube profile. And that's basically it for this video. Thank you everyone so much for joining in, and I hope you all could take something out of it and you found it interesting. And I'll see you next time.